I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Run down there.
Ernest,
Stop. Gonna know the difference.
you sure this is what you want to do?
40 million, it's a lot of money.
Not if you can't spend it.
Looking a little run down there, John.
Ernest, I still have time.
As important, fee schedule is awesome, but I don't think that's the most important thing as being a field adjuster, to be honest with you. That's being honest. To be honest with you, I think if we, communication with the customers, obviously, and getting out to do the proper inspection. Fee schedule is going to be a bonus. That's the way I look at it. We're blessed to do everything we can to help anybody out there that is in distress or their house is being destroyed. So fee schedule is just a bonus. So I don't think that fee schedule is the top of my list. We could hear Robert and not Ashley. Okay, so here, well, I'll take it from here. Ashley can just chime in if you cannot hear him. What we were talking about yesterday, and what very important is our ladder safety. Uh, the most important thing, obviously, when you get to an inspection, is our ladder safety, how to get up on the ladder, how to make sure we get to the point where we're safe. Because if we don't make it home, obviously, we're not going to be. Let's put it this way: we won't make it home at all if we fall off a ladder. So Ashley had made some statistics yesterday how many adjusters had fallen off ladders and had passed away. I myself, okay. Ashley will put that on the screen as far as the ladder safety. Um, I had gone over to a funeral one time on an adjuster who did a double pull. So ladder safety is definitely is going to be our most important safety as an adjuster. Um, Ashley was going to put on a diagram on the screen, and I apologize. We're trying to get this situated so that way everybody can be chiming in during this podcast. So we are ironing out these difficulties that Ashley's having on his end. So if you guys had any questions, I can see it on the screen and I can try to answer them. I can hear Ashley. So I apologize again on that. Ashley, if you can put, I don't know if they can hear you yet. Um, but Eddie, can you hear Ashley? No. Uh, all the audio is on Ashley's end, so he's trying to get to the point where he can do no lagging and you can hear him on the other end. We apologize for the mishap, guys. If you're online and you can hear me, you can't hear Ashley, so we apologize for that. We're trying to get this straightened out. Eddie, if you can write down my telephone number, I wanted to see if we can try to get this situated because I can hear him, and I know you guys can't hear him right now, but I want to try to get another session just later on so that way we make sure that you can hear him. So Eddie, since you were on yesterday, if you can want to write down my phone number, Eddie, here's my phone number: 210-559-5148. 210-559-5148, and just shoot me a quick text that you got that number, and so we can do a test run with Ashley and try to get that taken care of. Because we can hear each other, Eddie, and whoever else is watching, but I know you. I can hear you. Okay, Eddie got my phone number, so he's going to shoot me a quick text, and so we can go ahead and try to get this taken care of. Be good if I had my glasses with me so I can. Oh, here we go. So I can read what you're trying to say. All right, guys. I know this is. Oh, good. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get going on this. I know there's people who are dropping off right now because we're having issues with audio. So let's take a look. What we were talking about yesterday is ladder safety. Ashley is actually going to put something on the screen because of ladder safety. There's a little video as well. So if you guys want to watch a quick video and see what we can do to show you guys the best important way how to get up on a ladder. So Ashley, I know I have a lag on my end too, so I'm echoing on my side. You want to go ahead and put that video on, Ashley?
Today we're going to be talking about and going over how to perform a comprehensive inspection of the lodge property. We're going to be doing a roof inspection and an inspection of the interior. All right, so let's get started. When arriving at the property, you want to be considerate as to where you park your vehicle. Do not want to park in the driveway. Do not want to block the driveway. You do not want to park on the grass or landscaping of the insured. And you definitely do not want to block the fire hydrant. Let's talk about the dress code. As an insurance professional, you want to dress for success. You want to always wear a shirt with a collar. We recommend water wicking shirts, no open-toe shoes, no jeans, no denims, no political or sport affiliated or religious branding on your clothing, and try to make sure you wear the appropriate shoes for climbing roofs, which are cougar paws, or similar shoes that have treads. That's good enough to keep you from falling off the roof. If you choose cougar paws, they do offer a boot covering called booties. Well, at least that's what I call them. That's available on their website. Now we want to talk about photo documentation and its order. We're going to talk about the order that your photos should be in. The very first photo that we want you to take is going to be a photo of your loss address. That photo is going to include the address of the loss location with your ID card or business card that has your license number on it. In the state of Florida, it is not required. Second photo that we will be taking is going to be the front elevation. You want to make sure in this photo, that in every elevation photo actually, that you're able to get from corner to corner on your photo as best as possible. And before you even speak to the insured, you want to make sure you take these 2 photos just in case the insured declines you taking any additional photos of the lost property. Here's an example of the conversation that you can have or similar with the insured. Hello, my name is Ashley Severe. I'm the insurance adjuster. We spoke on the phone in regards to our inspection today. So what I would like to do today, I would like to be able to go around and inspect the outside of the home, the exterior, and take some photo documentations of the exterior. Do I have full access to your property? Are there any locked fences on the property? Do you have any pets on the property that I need to be aware of? If so, can you please bring your pets inside or put them away in a cage? Thank you. And after I'm done inspecting the perimeter of the home, I'm going to climb the roof and I'm going to inspect your roof and take some photo documentations of the roof. When I'm done, I will come down and I'll knock on your door and we can inspect the inside of your home. You can show me where the areas that were affected by the storm. All right, great. I'll see you soon. When you inquire about their pets, please be as courteous as possible. Now, during our inspection, you want to constantly be scanning for damages. You want to start after you've taken a photo of the elevation. You want to approach that elevation and actively scan for damages. You want to start at the top from the gutters, the fascia, soffit, windows, doors, walls, and siding. You want to make sure that you check if there's any exterior lightings, like coach lighting that may be on the side of the garage door, or post lighting that's out in the yard. You want to make sure you inspect those for damages. You want to pay attention to the garage door for damages as well, since it's a huge door. A lot of times it may be hit by debris or hail. As you inspect the elevations, if there's any equipment on the lost property, such as air conditionings, condenser units, you want to make sure you photograph the condenser unit and their labels, along with any other equipment. Photo you want to take is your rear photo, and a lot of times when you go to the rear, there are underwriting concerns that you want to make note of. If there's a trampoline on the lost property, make sure that you take a photo of the trampoline and make note of that in your report. That may be an underwriting referral. And the reason for that is that trampolines come with liability because the possibility of the insured or their children or the neighbors or a visitor getting hurt from a trampoline. That increases the risk on the property. As you photo document the property, you want to make sure that you document any abnormalities. In this photo here, you see there's a door is patio door or family room door is boarded up. You want to make sure you document that as well. So you're looking for storm created damage, and you're also looking for damage that's existing or pre-existing. You want to make sure you document it. The fifth photo that we want to be taking is going to be the left elevation. Again, if there's any other equipment on the property, make sure that you take it at this time. And when you get back to your desk, you just reorganize your photos. Make sure your photo order follows the order that's stated in this video. And you'll just move around the equipment photos and damage photos. Now we want to talk about setting up your ladder. Prior to setting up your ladder to be able to climb the roof, you want to pay attention to the slope that you decide to pick. Make sure that there are no power masses or power cords coming from the power pole to the home on the slope that you choose. If there is the existence of a power pole line coming into the house, please choose another slope. Just stay off that elevation and that slope completely when it comes to setting up your ladder. You want to make sure that your ladder is set up 3 feet above the roof line. And then we're going to take photo number 6, your ladder access. Now, before we go any further, we want to talk about the importance of ladder safety. We're going to be covering a couple things here. One thing you want to be sure is that you do not learn ladder safety on the fly. The most dangerous part of climbing a roof for a roof inspection will be at the top of the ladder, where you go to get off the ladder and mount onto the roof, and also when you go to get back on your ladder to be able to climb down from the roof. This is where most accidents happen in climbing the roof. So you want to make sure that you set up your ladder in a way that is safe and will provide the right amount of safety for you to be able to climb up the roof and be able to come down from climbing the roof. Let's talk about the 7 points of safety when climbing a ladder. Number 1, you want to make sure, as stated earlier, you want to extend the ladder 3 feet above the surface. And you want to make sure that there is a rung that's either even with the roof plane or just below the roof plane. Never get off of a ladder or step on a rung that's above the roof plane. That changes the entire pendulum of that ladder and will cause that ladder to kick out from underneath you. So be careful when you're mounting the roof. Do not step on a rung that is above the roof plane. Number 2, tie off your ladder at the top when possible. You may want to use a ladder lock, especially if it's attached, if you're climbing and the ladder is resting on a gutter, or use a little ladder helper. Step number 3, 3-point contact at all times when climbing the ladder. You want to always make sure that you have 3 points of contact when climbing the ladder. Number 4, never use a ladder if it has a broken rung or if the ladder is damaged in any way. Number 5, to make sure that you achieve the proper angle for climbing the ladder, you want to use the 4-to-1 ratio. For every 4 feet in height from the ground to the soffit of the roof, you want to put the ladder 1 foot back from the actual structure. Number 6, secure your ladder at the bottom. As much as possible, you want to make sure when setting up your ladder that you set up your ladder either in grass, dirt, or mulch. As much as possible, try to stay away from setting up your ladder on concrete, brick, or wood decking. You want to make sure that the bottom of your ladder is secure. When setting up on concrete, brick, or wood decking, it has a higher possibility for your ladder to be able to move when climbing up a roof. If you have to set it up on concrete, brick, or wood decking, try to set it up in a way that the bottom is secure, whether using a brace or something to secure your ladder at the bottom. And number 7, never carry tools or materials while climbing the ladder. Okay, always make sure you have a tool belt where you can secure all your tools that you're going to be needed to perform your inspection, or a clipboard. Try to see if you can attach your clipboard to your tool belt. Always make sure that your hands are free. And of course, as stated before, earlier in this video, you want to make sure that you do have the proper shoes for climbing the roof. We highly recommend wearing cougar paws. They have a tread at the bottom or a sole at the bottom of the boot that increases your ability to adhere to the roof while climbing. The next photo that we want to take now is a photo of the drip edge and gutter profile. That would be photo number 7. Okay guys, we're back at it. I want to try one more time to see if you guys can hear me. Can anybody confirm that my audio is better? It looks like the lagging is gone, but let's see about the audio. I'm going to send out a text. How is the audio? You can go ahead and ask them if they can't hear me, Robert.
Okay. Oh, yeah, they can hear you now.
Oh, goodness gracious. Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome. So we started out this podcast earlier. I know how people said don't mock small beginnings. You know, we're field adjusters. We're not technical savvy guys. We try to do what we can and try to put out the best product as possible. And unfortunately, between the beginning of this podcast and yesterday, technical difficulties has been our nemesis. All right. So I appreciate Robert for holding it down, even though you guys couldn't hear me. But I want to jump right into it. So in the beginning, we started off with talking about what's the most important skill for a field adjuster. Earlier, when I posted it in social media, someone suggested that the fee schedule is the most important thing. And immediately I thought about a clip from John Wick when they put a hit out on his life for $14 million. And there was this guy that caught up with him at the library, and the deadline was at 6 o'clock, but he showed up like 5-10 minutes early. And he was like, look, we might as well get this started. And John Wick basically said, what's the use if you gain $14 million and you're not able to spend it? So what's the use of having the best fee schedule out there, but you're not able to spend it? You're not able to bring it home, provide for your family, and enjoy a very good life with it. So fee schedule is not at the top of the list of the most important thing for a field adjuster. In our opinion, I think ladder safety is. What do you think, Robert?
Definitely think that ladder safety is more important. You want to make sure you come home to your loved ones, that's for sure. And then the fee schedule, like I said earlier, it's a bonus. So ladder safety is number one on my list as well.
Okay. Now I want to share some statistics with you guys. And I found this on the OSHA website. A couple things I want to share. Give me a second. I'm going to translate. I'm transition now. Okay, good. The lag is still not there, so awesome. So we're talking about ladder safety, and I'm going to read some statistics. In 2020 alone, there was 161 fatalities due to a ladder. All right, now keep in mind, this is ladder ownership.
You are
What's that?
you were cutting in and out, Ashley. They had mentioned you cutting in and out.
Okay. How about right now? Can you hear me okay?
All right. Go ahead and talk.
All right. So ladder safety is the number one priority and should be the number one priority in the life of a field adjuster. Because last year alone, I know that in South Florida, there were at least 2 fatalities for insurance adjusters. Okay, at least 2. And that was in South Florida, and there was 1 in North Carolina. And I'm sure you guys have heard stories of guys falling off the ladder, walking off of a roof, and not being able to go back home, or they survive it and they're in bad shape. I remember you started to share, Robert, about one adjuster funeral that you went to.
Yeah, one adjuster funeral that I went to, it was a lady, it was a she, um, had did a double pull. Doesn't mean that you can't do a double pull. You just got to make sure you're doing it safely. She had put herself on a dormer and got up to the second floor and then fell and hit the roof and then fell off of the first floor onto the ground. So you definitely got to be very careful.
Now,
I don't recommend double pulls.
yeah.
So I don't recommend double pulls, but sometimes that if need be, if it's a flat roof in the back, definitely you can try it and do it, because a lot of flat roofs in the back in Florida or even in several states is a 112. But you still got to be very, very careful. Always have somebody with you to help with that.
That's correct. Now, most insurance carriers will warn you against a double pull. I am not a fan of it, and reason being, I tell you what. Before I share, explain to them what a double pull is, Robert. Before I go
A
and share.
double, if you guys don't know what a double pull is, a double pull is when you get on. If it's a one-story house, you're getting on the one-story house. That's just a single pull because it's one-story house. You put your ladder against the eave, get up on top, then you're onto your roof. A double pull is basically you're getting on the same roof, and there is another roof, which is a two-story roof, climbing on top of that one, putting your ladder on top of the first story, climbing up to the second story. That is considered a double pull. Don't recommend it at all, but there are some adjusters who do double pulls, but I don't recommend it without having somebody with a two-story ladder.
That's correct. And one of my main reasons why I don't recommend it, because let's say the ladder falls down while you're climbing the second portion of that roof. How are you going to get down? That's one of the scariest things. You're going to have to end up calling the fire department to come out and get you. And I don't know anything more embarrassing for the fire department to come get you off of a roof. All right. So let me
And
ask
you'll
you.
get charged for it.
Say that again.
And you'll get charged for it sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, whose responsibility do you think it is for our safety when it comes to ladder safety? We already established it's the most important thing, because if you can't make it home in one piece, it kind of destroys the entire career. It only takes one mistake. We can't even afford to make that one mistake. So whose responsibility is it? I'll let you share a little bit on that, Robert, and then I'll talk about the situation in Mississippi.
Well, the responsibility for ladder safety, it's not the homeowners and it's not the contractor. It's you yourself. You're the one who's climbing up the ladder. You're the one who's risking your life to get up on top of the second story or a steep roof or what have you. It's your responsibility to make it home to your family. So you make sure when somebody says, go ahead and use my ladder, you want to make sure that you're safe. No matter what ladder you use, you want to make sure that you're safe before you get up on top of the ladder, making sure you use the proper mechanisms, which is, gutter guards to where you can go ahead and get a clamp for the soffit and your fascia boards. There are clamps that you can buy, but overall, you are the one who is responsible for your ladder safety.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. At the end of the day, we have to remember that we're independent contractors, not only with the insurance carrier, but also with the IA firm. So the responsibility, the onus is on us as insurance adjuster, field insurance adjuster, that is. And also there's a caveat to that. Most field adjusters are independent, but there are staff field adjusters where the liability and responsibility may shift legally. But as a field adjuster, it is your responsibility. There's this story in Mississippi. It was posted online in 2020. I kind of hesitate to switch screens because I'm afraid it's going to lag on me. So I'm just going to read this short story, okay? Give me a second here. All right. And it's about a field adjuster. I'm going to try to withhold his name, but listen to this the story. It says Mississippi has an answer. On April 16, 2020, the Mississippi Supreme Court recently ruled that an adjuster's safety was not the homeowner's responsibility, as the homeowner exercised no control over the adjuster. Okay, we figure no brainer, right? All right, that's kind of a no brainer. But listen to what happened where this ruling came from. It says, as a result of a storm, Mr. Peak's home sustained damage to the roof. Mr. Peak filed a claim with his insurance carrier, Allstate Insurance and Company. Allstate contracted with Pilot Catastrophe Services to inspect and evaluate the storm damage. Pilot assigned independent adjuster, and I'm going to call him John Doe, to Mr. Peak's claim. During the inspection of Mr. Peak's roof, John Doe fell through a rotted area of the roof decking and partially into the attic. John Doe sustained injuries to his neck, back, right hip, right arm, and both rotator cuffs in his shoulder. John Doe was unable to work for more than a year as a result of his injuries. Though he filed a claim with Pilot, this is the adjuster, and received workers' compensation benefits, John Doe also sued Mr. Peak, the homeowner, for failing to make the premises safe and for not warning him about the roof's condition. I know some of y'all probably thinking that's preposterous. Why and how would the adjuster try to sue the homeowner? Well, he did. The trial court ruled in favor of John Doe, of the adjuster, on a motion for summary judgment. Mr. Peak then appealed to the Mississippi Supreme Court. In reversing the trial court, the Supreme Court found that John Doe was hired by Allstate to perform a specific task, identify and distinguish pre-existing roof damage from storm damage. The court relied upon the well-established, intimately connected doctrine and found that Mr. Peak did not exercise any control over the adjuster. The court held that absent from exercise of control over a contractor, Mississippi law does not impose liability on a property owner for injuries suffered by independent contractors arising from or intimately connected to the work they were contracted to perform. So back to the question, whose responsibility is it for our safety? It's you. It's you. Now, that's going to segue into my third question. Are field adjusters required to climb roofs, Robert?
The field adjuster is definitely required to climb roofs to locate the damages of the storm, hail, wind. So we can go ahead and identify it, write up an estimate. So you can't inspect a roof off the side, off the eaves. There's been adjusters who has been just take pictures off the eaves. That's not a proper inspection. You cannot get on top of a roof. It's too steep. There are other companies. Ladder Now is a company that you can call. Some companies also pay for those services, and you can go that route. But you definitely have to get on the roof to inspect the roof.
Absolutely. Now, there's no way one around it. Somebody got to get on that roof. If you're going to be a field adjuster, there's no one or two ways around it. Now, I shared yesterday that it is possible for you to have someone with you who can climb the roof for you. However, that person has to be qualified to identify damage, whether it be hail damage, wind damage, mechanical damage, and to know how to photo document that damage. He doesn't have to be he or she does not have to be a licensed adjuster, but he has to be able to identify damage and be qualified to do that. And what I say qualified, meaning that person should have taken some kind of training in identifying damage. One of them that I recommend is Hague wind and hail damage, how to recognize damage. So that's one way around it, but you got to get on the roof. And if it's impossible to get on the roof, you can justify an estimate by doing it from the eave, like Robert recommended. All right, but definitely we have to get pictures and properly document that roof. What are some safety tips you think you can give, Robert, that you think that we can share, or some ideas of how to prepare for an inspection? And what are some safety tips you think we can give them?
Safety tips to obviously do any type of inspection, making sure you look at the perimeter of the house, because you don't want to step in a hole that somebody had dug in the ground, because I know that I've done that and the grass was higher and there's a hole there. So make sure what's your surroundings first of all. If there's a branch, because instead of looking at the house at all times, you're walking and you're not looking down. Always make sure you're looking around and where you're stepping.
I think you lagged a little bit, Robert. I'm not sure if your audio came through. You may have to repeat that.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, the lag is gone now. Go ahead, if you don't mind repeating that.
No. Basically, the safety tips as far as inspecting the house is going to the house and looking around the perimeter. There's been a hole in the ground that I've stepped in where the grass was higher, and I just focused on the house and not on the ground, making sure that you're walking in areas that you're not going to either trip, fall, or if there's a ledge. Also, making sure you put your ladder on the grass. Don't ever put it on concrete, because concrete, it tends to sometimes, if it's misty, foggy, you're gonna slip. That ladder will slip from the bottom of you, especially if you're on a deck. You don't want to ever put it on a deck, because the wood tends to give way as well. So I would never want to put it on a deck or concrete. Try to put it on the grass if possible.
Right. Now, there are some situations where, like you shared, we may not have the convenience of the grass or mulch or dirt. Now, if you had to put it on concrete, I think you recommended yesterday, Robert, which I thought was an excellent idea. If you have to put it on concrete, tie the bottom of a ladder to something that's stationary that'll prevent the ladder from kicking up out from underneath you. And if you absolutely have to use a wood deck, one thing I would recommend is in between the 2x4s or 2x6, there's going to be a little spacing. I would set up my ladder in a way that I can either put my spatula that I use to lift up the shingle, or a screwdriver, stick it through the slot and put the bottom legs of my ladder right up against it. That will prevent it from flipping up once you get to the top of the roof. But we absolutely try to discourage you from setting up on wood decks and concrete, especially if you don't have any support, or find someone that's going to come with you, that's going to be able to provide that extra, spot for you when you climb the ladder. Now, one thing we encourage you to do before you even get to that inspection, before you even schedule your inspection, look at the home on Google Maps or Google Earth. See what the slope looks like. Make sure you see how many stories the house is. And if you feel uncomfortable with climbing that roof, insurance carriers will pay for ladder assist. I mean, there's at least 3 companies I know that the insurance carriers would pay to be able to send a ladder assist out there with you to that inspection, and they will climb the roof for you, and they will take the pictures for you. Even though taking pictures is not really part of their contract, but they will take the pictures for you. So, and we highly encourage you guys to get Cougar Paws. I mean, one of the biggest things that adjusters do, we get complacent. We climb so many roofs and we think that we're invincible, or we may underestimate the slope of that roof and walk off the roof. It happens every time. One of the things that was shared in this court ruling, I'm gonna read it for you. It says adjusters face, excuse me, guys. Adjusters face a lot of dangers and challenges when inspecting property damage. They must remain vigilant and observe best practices for safety. Safety education and training during property damage inspection is an area ripe for attention. John Doe, his life changed quickly from one mishap. It only takes one mistake. And guys, if we don't take ladder safety serious, it only takes one mistake. It will alter your life. It will alter your life, and you don't want that. You definitely don't want that. Another question I want to throw in there, Robert. How about attic inspections? How do you feel about that?
I agree with going in an attic. I know you're laughing because, but it depends on what the attic is. If there's a deck or the subfloor in the attic, then I would recommend going up in the attic, walk around when there's a subfloor. Don't try to attempt to walk on the rafters and go to certain areas because there's a lot of hidden 2x4s that you're not going to be able to see because of insulation. I agree with Ashley there. I don't recommend walking around the attic. If there's a subfloor where there's an air condition, you can walk up there, take your photos, and then come back down. So I do recommend at least taking some photos of the decking.
Amen. Amen. Dad, I agree with you 100%. I always discourage our students not to be walking around inside the attic because of that hazard. I mean, you hear stories all the time. Even public adjusters are falling through the roof, through the attic. I mean, there was one inspection I went to inspect, and I saw this huge hole in the ceiling, and they just screwed a 4x8 drywall. And I asked the insured, I said, "What?" I said, "Is that damage from the storm?" And the homeowner said, "No, my public adjuster went through the ceiling." I mean, it's funny thinking about it, but man, when it happens to you, it's not funny at all. So I definitely, what I would recommend, open up the attic access, go into the access, don't walk around, because there's two concerns that I have. One is your safety, of course. And number two, if there is damage to the wood deck on the roof, if there's old stains or rotted wood, the carrier is not going to provide coverage for that because that establishes the fact that that's a pre-existing condition. And in addition, when we're replacing drywall ceilings, we're replacing insulation anyway. So it's like, what's the reason that we would walk throughout the entire attic? In my opinion, doesn't really serve a purpose. But definitely you want to take a picture of the roof deck and maybe just from the access, just take 3 pictures. All right. And if you could see the area that was damaged from the attic access, that's a plus. That is a plus. OSHA regulations, they regard attic access as a confined space, and they have specific regulations for it. And one of them is because the atmosphere may become unsafe. What do I mean by that? The lack of oxygen. All right? That's an atmospheric condition that may change. And in addition to that, how about the temperature? You know what I'm saying? So I kind of discourage, and you'll have some managers that tell, oh yeah, crawl into the attic. You have guys that'll tell you go into the crawl space and you have to crawl underneath the entire home. I'm not of that persuasion. I'm just not.
Eddie had asked that question, and what about the crawl space? Uh, I, you can, depending on what type of the house it is, if there's access for underneath the home, if I know that certain insurance companies want you to take photos from underneath because they want to take additional photos of what needs to be done because you're not going to be able to see the damage from above, but you can see it from below because if there is wood that is delaminated or insulation that needs to be replaced, then you'd have to try to get to that area. I made a stick with the wheels on the bottom of it, and I put a GoPro. And with that safety stick, it's 40 foot long, and all I did is the wheels are 4 inches, and I rolled it all the way through, and the GoPro just
That's
faced it up,
perfect.
and I took snapshots of it. So that's what I did.
That's
I didn't
perfect.
want to get underneath the house because all I saw was a whole bunch of spider webs. So if I stuck the stick in there, walked around the other side of the house, shoved the stick in there, and I took additional photos that needed to be taken, and that's what I did. So I didn't need to go underneath the house.
Yep, that's perfect. That's perfect. Man, if you maybe later on can share a picture that state what it looks like, 'cause that's the perfect idea. You know, get as much as you can from that access space as opposed to going up underneath there. Because we're insurance claims adjuster. We're not home inspectors where those guys, they put on an entire protective suit and they go up underneath there. I mean, for
Right.
me, there's a lot of reason why I would not crawl into a spot, crawl space. One of those reasons because of daddy no legs or no arms, called snakes. They hiss at you. You know,
Yeah.
I am not going underneath there. No, sir.
I have two things that I put underneath. A remote control car is what I have, the big ones that go up, and I put the GoPro on that one. And if there's too many pipes or anything like that, then I use the stick. But I have two things that I use.
Awesome. Awesome. That's some good tips, Robert. I didn't even think of that. Holy smokes. No, good point. Good point. Do anybody have any other questions in the chat? You're more than welcome, Lucius Tate. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. But definitely. So the questions that we covered so far, why is ladder safety so important? Whose responsibility is it for our safety? Are field adjusters required to climb roofs? And what are some safety tips? And we also threw in the attic and the crawl space. We kind of threw that in for you guys because I know that that's a challenge for people to be able to go into the attic space. And you may be encouraged. Now, here's the thing. I want to share this pretty quickly. There are some times that you're going to have managers that will encourage you to do something that puts your safety in jeopardy. I mean, just because managers or team leads or supervisor have that title, does that mean that they can tell you to do something and put your life in jeopardy? For example, I had a friend of mine's who was doing some work in Canada, and if you ever worked in Canada, there's 2-story homes everywhere. And his manager encouraged him to do a double pull. And I'm not going to tell you, I encouraged him not to, but he went ahead and did it and fell off the 2nd story, hit the 1st story, and he managed somehow to get off the roof. And this was a couple years ago, and to this day, he's still hurting. But his manager encouraged him to do it. The manager encouraged the entire team to do double pulls. That's a big no-no. If you're that determined as an adjuster to get on that 2-story roof, carry 2 ladders. You know, different sizes if they have to be, but make sure you have a 2nd ladder so that you're not doing a double pull. All right? And I mean, I could give you more story after story where managers or supervisors will encourage you to do something that puts your life in jeopardy. Remember, it's your responsibility as an insurance adjuster. Have you ever encountered such a thing, Robert?
I always try to do the safety for myself. If somebody asks me to do something that you're not comfortable with, I've made a phone call to a ladder now to make sure that they help out with that.
That's correct. That's correct. Good point. Good point. Well, we're not going to keep you guys any longer. In closing, I just want to encourage and motivate you guys to get the proper training, ladder safety training, get the proper equipment, such as Cougar Paws. If you want to learn how to climb high and steep roofs, get the training, get the certification. There's a guy in Georgia, Terry Freeland. All right, that's the guy that I got my high and steep certification from. Awesome trainer. Matter of fact, I'm going to share his number in the chat. He's out of Georgia, and he is an excellent high and steep trainer. So if you want to get to an inspection and climb the roofs yourselves, his number is 770-365-0606, and I'm gonna put that in the chat. You remember him, Robert? I think we did our high and steep training together, right?
Yeah, we did. Was that in Georgia or South Carolina?
No, that was in Georgia. Our deployment was in South Carolina. That was Hurricane Francis, I think it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that was Hurricane Francis. And while we was on standby, we was I think we stationed in Georgia because they wasn't sure where the storm was going to hit. And while we was on standby, we said, hey, why don't we just go do our high and steep certification?
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. And if you guys have been following us for any times, you also know that we provide adjuster training. We have some online classes right now, and we're running a 1 week special. Well, each and every class is only $99. If you've looked at our courses before, you'll see that there were some on $150, some for $350. Well, all of them we're providing right now for between April 1st and April 7th. We're going to provide those classes for $99.99 just for 1 week. All right, that's just a 1 week special. The month of April, in my opinion, is a very conscientious month because of Resurrection Sunday. You know, we celebrate, I hate to call it Easter, but we celebrate, the resurrection of Christ. And it's a very special month, especially for me. I mean, I don't know if anybody else is religious, but I'm grateful to God for the many blessings and opportunities that He provided me. And I know you guys can hear that I'm winded a little bit. I had a health crisis back in January where I went in for an outpatient procedure and I almost died. Basically almost died. And that procedure was stemming from shortness of breath. So I went in for a bronchoscopy. They sent the camera down my throat, and I started bleeding profusely. And I could tell you it's only by the grace of God that I'm here today. And I'm totally grateful, man. Totally grateful. And so we just want to run this special to make it affordable for you guys. Any one of those classes that you choose, it'll be $99.99, and you have a 30-day access to it. Okay, and I just want to throw that in there before we end. So in closing, Robert, is there anything?
There's a question on there. What would exempt you from being an adjuster?
What would exempt you? Okay, and I can only speak for the state of Florida. There are certain felonies that if you've committed in your life, that totally eliminates you from being an adjuster. However, there is a timeline from those times that felony was committed. For most of the ones that are tolerable for the state of Florida, I think there's a 10-year waiting period. I can't pull it up right now, but and I can't even pull up the list, the names of those felonies that would disqualify you from being an adjuster. But the ones that are tolerable, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for the crimes that are not capital offenses, there's a 10-year wait period before you can apply for an adjuster license.
Also, child support.
That's
Child
correct.
support, I know in the state of Texas, with the old child support, then they'll just say, okay, you and they'll ask you, are you behind on it? Not just because you owe child support. If you're in the arrears, you probably won't get an adjuster's license. I know that.
Yeah, that's correct. So I'm glad you asked. So if you had a felony on your record, it doesn't disqualify you totally. There may be a wait time for you. So don't give up if you want to become an insurance adjuster. Just look up the rules and regulations and you'll find the answers that you need. All right. Let's see. Is there any other questions there? You're more than welcome. More than welcome, Florida Instant. Now, is there anything else you want to leave them with, Robert, before we go ahead and close this out?
Nope, not right now. Just main thing is be safe and adjuster. Being an adjuster is not only for yourself to make good money. It's also, remember, it's to helping others is what we're here for.
Okay. Our website is severerpmsadjusters.com. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. All right. You can go there for all the information on the online classes. Now, this is technically our first podcast. We tried yesterday, but I couldn't iron out the issue with the audio. I was pretty sure we had it today, but the problem we had today was the lagging that kind of zipped up my audio because I didn't really do anything different once we got it sorted out. But this is technically our first live podcast. There's going to be many more. We had planned to do these once a month, but I don't know if I should say it, Robert, but Robert whispered in my ear and entertained the idea of doing it once a week. But right now we have plans for once a month, and we may go from once a month to once a week. And I'll talk with Robert about that. But there's so many topics to cover in this insurance industry. But we believe that the very first one that should be addressed is the entire thing of ladder safety. Because if you go out there and you take every advice we give you about insurance adjusting, but we do not talk about how to adjust safely, we've done you a disservice, as trainers. If we can't tell you what is the most important aspect, which is you being able to go home alive and in one piece. When my students, and I've had students that shared with me that they've fallen off the roof, my stomach sinks. And it sinks because I say to myself, I know I made it a point to talk about ladder safety. And I'm thinking to myself, man, why did you take that chance when you knew better? So we as trainers will be doing you a disservice if we do not highlight and put the spotlight on ladder safety for you guys. Because if you don't feel comfortable climbing the roof, do not climb the roof. The money is not worth it. If you can spend it and enjoy it. So we wanted to make sure that we focused on ladder safety. And our next podcast, there's a zillion things that we could talk about insurance adjusting. And we hope that you tune in for more discussions and conversations about claims world. Okay? So I just want to thank you guys for joining us. I'm your host, Ashley Sevier from Orlando, Florida. And my brother from another mother, Robert Willers, out of San Antonio.
You got it. You guys have a safe night. And yes, we will talk about doing something, and it could be a shorter podcast, because if we do it weekly, we want to go ahead and try to do a specific inspection or a specific item that it comes up through the chat. So definitely we'll talk to Ashley, see what time frames would be best for everybody to get on, because we want to make sure everybody gets the knowledge to what we know and to give to you guys.
That's correct. That's correct. So again, thank you for joining us, guys. God bless you guys, and be safe. And tune in next time. We will be advertising and posting the next time we go live. All right. So God bless you, and thank you for joining us with Claims World.
Have a good night.
Good night.